There are many diets that say what you should eat, in what amounts, and what kind of foods that you have to avoid. However, I think that one of the most overlooked aspects is the timing of when you eat. Fasting has been practiced by virtually all groups of people and societies across history. It's been used for medicinal purposes, purposes of improving discipline, and spiritual purposes as well. But with modern science, we begin to know that how does this actually work? What are the benefits of fasting? And how can we apply it into our modern society? This video talks about the intermittent fasting research that we have right now. I'm gonna give you an overview of what we know about fasting so far.
Do it.
People use different types of definitions for describing intermittent fasting. They say that they're doing alternative fasting, extended fasting, time restricted eating, warrior dieting, or 1 meal a day, or whatever it is. They're all describing the phenomenon of intermittent fasting. Here are the differences between them. Intermittent fasting, or IF, is more like the general pattern of eating and not eating, which can apply to daily time restricted eating, 1 meal a day, 16 and 8, alternative fasting, as well as extended fasting for 3 to 5 days. Prolonged or extended fasting applies to anything that exceeds 24 hours and usually lasts from 3 to 5 days and beyond. It can be thought of as a form of intermittent fasting because you're doing it intermittently, but at the same time, it's different from the regular daily IF. Time restricted eating, or TRE, refers to eating within a certain time frame in the 24-hour period. It doesn't apply to anything beyond 24 hours. In truth, anyone doing 1 meal a day, 16 and 8, or the warrior diet are actually doing time restricted eating, but it can be still categorized as a subgroup for IF. Alternative fasting, or ADF, is a form of fasting that's most commonly used in research. You eat normally for 1 day, the next day you either fast completely or eat like 500 calories and repeat this cycle. It can be thought of as a form of intermittent fasting that's spread out across the week, but the physiological effects are slightly different from time restricted eating and extended fasting. Most people are doing some form of time restricted eating and they only add maybe like a few longer fasts every once in a while. But for the sake of this video, we're gonna look at intermittent fasting as IF, within the context of only fasting within the 24 hours and not beyond. So what are the benefits of intermittent fasting and time restricted eating? Cellular autophagy, the process of cell cleanup and recycling that gets activated under energy deprivation. You can experience some aspects of autophagy when eating a very low carb, low protein diet, but it's not that significant. Heat shock proteins. Fasting increases heat shock proteins, which are stress adaptation molecules that strengthen the immune system, fight infections, reduce inflammation, and trigger autophagy. Suppression of mTOR and IGF-1. Two anabolic signaling pathways, mTOR and IGF-1, promote muscle growth, cell proliferation, and immunity. Unfortunately, they may also increase the likelihood of cancers and accelerated aging. More growth hormone. Just 24 hours of fasting has been shown to increase growth hormone by 1300 to 2000%. Usually, your body releases growth hormone a few times a day in small amounts, but while fasting, you experience these surges more often, and they have a more profound effect. Activation of stem cells. Fasting boosts stem cells, which have regenerative effects on the body, replacing old worn-out cells. Walter Longo has shown that 3 days of fasting can reset the immune system by activating hematopoietic stem cells. Gut healing. Fasting and fasting-mimicking diets modulate gut microbiota and promote intestinal regeneration. Part of it has to do with the activation of stem cells that reverses the loss of gut stem cells. Fasting also increases the activity of the migrating motor complex, or MMC, which is a mechanism that controls stomach contractions in a cyclical manner over 2 hours. The MMC cleans out the GI tract and helps to eliminate undigested food particles. Eating food inhibits MMC and not eating increases it. Circadian rhythm alignment. Time-restricted eating and confining your eating window within a certain time frame fits with circadian biology and keeps the body's circadian clocks more in sync with the day and night cycles of the environment. It's important to know whether or not fasting is unique and whether or not it has any benefits over other forms of dietary restriction. Intermittent fasting, or IF, mimics calorie restriction without needing to reduce calories that much. A study done on mice showed that longer daily fasting improves their health and longevity independent of diet composition or calories. The mice ate once a day versus the 13-hour eating window of calorically restricted mice, and the ad libitum mice who ate whenever they wanted. One of the researchers, De Cabo, said that increasing daily fasting times without a reduction of calories and regardless of the type of diet consumed resulted in overall improvements in health and survival rates in male mice. Perhaps this extended daily fasting period enables repair and maintenance mechanisms that would be absent in continuous exposure to food. Fasting differs from calorie restriction because the way autophagy gets expressed. Instead of eating fewer calories, you restrict the time of when you eat your food, and you're gonna thus extend the period where your body is in a state of null energy or energy depletion. You could be eating the same amount of calories, but just because of confining the eating window, you would see much more autophagy in the fasted state. Therefore, I would say that it is quite plausible that some form of confining your eating window would give you some unique benefits that you wouldn't otherwise get from just restricting your calories, so to say, because of autophagy and as well as the circadian aspect of food consumption. There are studies showing that eating breakfast and skipping dinner is better than the standard 3 meals a day. Research has shown that time-restricted eating has unique metabolic effects in addition to weight loss, such as reduced blood glucose, improved insulin sensitivity, lower triglycerides, upregulation of epigenetic longevity pathways, and increased basal autophagy. A study published in May 2019 found that eating from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. versus eating from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. improved blood glucose control, lipid profile, and autophagy genes. Of course, this type of time-restricted feeding is better because it's actually going into a fasted state. An 8-hour eating window between 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. has also been shown to reduce blood pressure, lower body fatness, and improve cholesterol profile. Another study in April 2019, a few months earlier, found that a 9-hour eating window from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and 12 to 9 p.m. both had the same results in terms of health and body composition. The subjects ate early in the day and skipped breakfast for the first week, and then switched it up by skipping breakfast and eating later. The results were virtually identical in terms of weight loss, blood sugar, and insulin. However, eating the standard 3 meals a day and no fasting negated these benefits. So the most important variable is eating less often and within a shorter time frame, where you activate autophagy and suppress insulin. However, studies in mice have shown that fasting for 48 hours compared to 24 hours produces more autophagosomes, the genes and proteins related to autophagy activity. So, extended fasting triggers more autophagy because you're under higher energy stress. As I said earlier, intermittent fasting can be used for medicinal purposes as well as improving body composition. A large review of 40 studies found that IF is effective for weight loss with a typical 7 to 11 pound loss over 10 weeks, but it's not superior to other dietary methods. These trials don't show much difference in body composition changes and appetite, but they can be more effective for some people. Another study on resistance-trained men on the same lifting routine put one group on a 12-hour eating window and the other one on the 16-8 method with 8 hours of eating. Both groups saw improvements in strength and muscle growth, but the 16-8 group lost more body fat. Their inflammation was also lower. Alternative fasting or intermittent energy restriction has been shown to be more effective in improving insulin sensitivity and reducing body fat than daily energy restriction. The biggest difference between IF and daily energy restriction is metabolic adaptation. If you go on a calorie-restricted diet, your metabolism will continuously adapt to that reduced intake of food, and you have to keep on reducing your calories. To lose weight on time-restricted eating, you'd still have to reduce your calories to lose weight, but I think you have to do it slightly less because of spending more time in a fasted state, where your body experiences higher rates of fat oxidation. When it comes to fat loss, then yeah, you can lose weight on any diet as long as you're in a calorie deficit. But, like I said earlier, intermittent fasting gives you other benefits that aren't related to just losing fat. There are also some medical applications to intermittent fasting. Improves symptoms of diabetes. Fasting lowers blood sugar and insulin resistance, much more so than daily calorie restriction. In one study, 3 men with type 2 diabetes were able to stop taking insulin after just a single month of intermittent fasting. A study on pre-diabetic men showed that eating the same amount of food within 6 hours of time-restricted eating improved glycemic control, insulin sensitivity, blood pressure, and oxidative stress compared to eating that same food within a 12-hour window. Improves cardiovascular health. Time-restricted eating can reduce your risk of metabolic syndrome and heart disease by lowering triglycerides, reducing fasting blood sugar, decreasing blood pressure, and making you lose weight. It has cardioprotective effects by providing resistance to ischemic injury and lowering inflammation. Reduced risk of cancer. Studies have found that extended overnight fasting reduces risk of breast cancer and lowers inflammation. When in a fasted state, you also suppress mTOR and IGF-1, which may promote tumorigenesis if elevated all the time. The process of autophagy is also considered protective against malignancies that can prevent cancers, but it may not be the best strategy for actually treating these conditions. So it might be that regular intermittent fasting is more of a way of preventing getting sick. Neuroprotection. Fasting is great for boosting brain power and protecting against cognitive decline. IF also increases BDNF, which is a neurotrophic factor that grows new brain cells and promotes neuroplasticity. This enhances your ability to cope with stress, inflammation, and damage to the brain. The elevation of autophagy and ketones also helps to mitigate oxidative stress and neuroinflammation, as well as eliminate plaque in the brain. Fasting slows down aging by upregulating many genes and pathways that extend longevity, such as autophagy, sirtuins, phosphoproteins, AMPK, lower IGF-1, and inflammation. Sirtuins are one of the longevity genes that repair DNA and promote stress adaptation. Autophagy is the process of cellular turnover that recycles worn-out organelles. Deficient autophagy promotes aging and disease. Mice and yeast that are defective in autophagy don't live longer, despite consuming fewer calories, whereas sufficient autophagy allows these effects to take place. Fasting works because of many reasons and through many mechanisms. It may not be the best solution all the time, but it can be still applicable to a lot of these conditions because it's just going to make your body healthier.
Better.
How long it takes for you to get the benefits of fasting depends on your overall body composition, how lean you are, how much muscle mass you have, how physically active you are, what's your current metabolic flexibility, and your genetics as well. If you're already pretty lean, you're not overeating calories, your biomarkers are on point, then you're going to get the benefits from the fast faster because you don't have that much, garbage to burn through. Whereas someone who is sick or obese, then they naturally have to fast for longer to get the benefits. That's why sticking to a consistent daily intermittent fasting schedule is pretty good for most people. And this is also the reason why I think everyone can benefit from some form of time-restricted eating. And I think it's a good idea to just not eat all the time like the average American does. If you want to know how to start intermittent fasting, then check out my free ebook, The Full Guide to Intermittent Fasting. And if you want to know how to optimize it with resistance training and food combining, then check out my Metabolic Autophagy Masterclass. But other than that, thanks for watching this video. Make sure you click the like, subscribe, notification bell as well. My name is Seem. Stay optimized, stay empowered.